Hi, my name's Christy, and most of you probably know me. I am a truth activist and a spiritual being pursuing my divine purpose here to bring truth to everyone so that they can connect with their inner true self and connect with the divine being that we all are as one. And I decided to start doing videos because typing just wasn't getting the word out fast enough, and a lot more people are willing to watch a video than they are read, unfortunately, these days. And time is, compressing and compressing, so it does tend to cut into our free time for reading. But this is a global issue, and it's very important, so without further ado, I have been discussing the issues of mind control that the government has been using, especially advanced technologies using zero-point energy and scalar waves. Now, zero-point energy and scalar waves are not bad in themselves. They are actually tools to harness the infinite consciousness within everything. But if they are kept in secret, they can be used in devious ways. And also, with a lack of understanding of your reality, it can seem very nefarious. As usual, any type of confusion usually seems dangerous or evil or whatnot. So I'm doing my best to clear the confusion. A little background on me. I did attend the University of Texas at Austin. I was a pre-med student with psychology. I grew up in a home that had a lot of trauma, so I did have to deal with psychological issues or going within. I had to evaluate my family, evaluate what was going on with my parents ever since I was at age 2, actually. I have been studying relationships, just because of the trauma that I experienced. I had a deep yearning and divine purpose to understand consciousness, this reality that we're in right now. So, that is a little bit of my background. I have studied quantum physics. I have studied many advanced sciences. And the truth of the matter is, no matter how much science you study, if you do not unify the sciences, and if you do not add consciousness, which psychology can string that into the other sciences for you, then nothing will matter. None of the science you study makes a difference unless you have psychology, unless you have consciousness tied to every single other science study, because that is the basis of reality. We live in a reality which is a aether of consciousness, and we are each a focal point of that consciousness. We're each an aperture, a level of awareness, and our frequency range, or our scalar range, our own scalar wave range, is our level of awareness. So as these chemtrails are being sprayed, which, by the way, they are tiny metal particles called ions. Now, for a metal particle to become an ion, it must be heated up to a very high degree, which the chemtrails are specifically sprayed out at 4,000 degrees Kelvin. Very hot. Remember, our sun is plasma. So they spray out these metal particles, barium, aluminum, and so forth, in their ionic state, which creates a plasma. Ions create a plasma. Now, what happens is the actual atom loses and gains electrons with this heating up. So you have highly reactive electrons that are actually sending and receiving information. They are polarizing. It's taking atoms and it is polarizing them, giving them a charge. Okay? So in our reality, literally everything is being polarized. Now, HAARP is doing this, yes, and chemtrails are doing this, yes, but it is also happening naturally in nature. Our galaxy itself sends out a pulsing scalar wave, also known as a gravity wave. Now, I personally do not call them gravity waves because of the simple fact that gravity is an illusion of radiant variation. In other words, the sun is radiating a higher energy than the Earth, so therefore the Earth is, it's pushed a certain distance away from the sun. Now, as far as we are concerned on Earth, we have a lower radiance than the Earth itself. And so therefore, because we have a lower radiance, instead of being pushed away from the Earth, we actually are able to reside on the Earth. Whereas if we had too high of a radiance, we would not be able to be on this third dimensional plane. Anyway, so to get back to the original reason why I made this video, I just read an article. Let's see, it is on Daily Mail, I believe, Daily Mail News, and it was talking about how abductions are just dreams, ET abductions, according to researchers, and they have been training people to meet ETs in their sleep. Now, it goes on to describe, you know, how it's a lucid dream experience that these people are having, and basically it's saying it's all in their head. Now, this is true, but you have to understand the nature of your reality. Most people think that what they see around them is real. It is actually solid, and it is actually there in front of them. This is incorrect. Everything you see is a frequency matrix. It is a braided, weaved vortex or torsion field, of frequency, a torsion field. So when you think of geometry, when you think of especially sacred geometries, these are the energetic lattice, if you will, or lace of reality. So when you look at something, what you're actually doing is you yourself are a vortex of consciousness. Consciousness is the aether around us, and in order to experience individuation, we create the spin. The spin is what gives us individual perspective. Okay? So this individual perspective that we have, if you notice your eye, it looks like a black hole. That is because your eyes are vortices and they are absorbing frequency.
Yeah, and your eye is like a third eye.
A third eye, that's correct. Your third eye is your vortice that goes from your crown all the way down, really, and it is here that the pineal gland links it to what we perceive to be our physical body. So what is happening when we see things is we are taking in its frequency matrix, its frequency signature, and we are translating it into visual or any of the five senses messages. So we're seeing an object, we're feeling an object, we're smelling something, tasting something. Every single frequency, in other words, has these properties to it: a sight, a smell, a taste. But as human beings in this current perception range, we're not able to see every frequency that's out there. Even though it does have a visual response, we are only working with eyes that can see in the visible light range. There is a gamma, of course, there's X-ray, there's all these different frequency ranges which do have a look, a feel, a taste, a touch, a smell, everything like that. And what we need to do is widen the ability of our senses to perceive these things. So, let's get back to our 3D reality. What we see as reality being these solid things. Well, now we know it is not solid. It is actually an energetic matrix that's around us. This energetic matrix is the fourth dimension. It is the mind-time plane. It is more real than what you perceive in 3D. Because remember, what we're perceiving in 3D is limited to our awareness range of each of our senses. And, of course, you know, there are things besides visible light, which is the pretty much only thing that people can see. Personally, I can see photons everywhere. And I have the ability to see a distortion in the aura area. I'm not yet able to see color in the aura, but I do see the distortion of the aura, and I see the photons, which are emanating as everything and moving about. So we are able to move our sight to refine it to see more detailed of visible light, and also expand it to see more of the. So again, is the mind referred to as
manifestation. Excuse me. So when they are saying that these ET abductions are just a dream, the truth of the matter is, so is your current reality. What you are experiencing as solid is actually also a dream. It is an interpretation. And the truth of the matter is, what happens in the mind-time plane is more real than the dense stuff that actually comes, that we perceive as the third dimension. It's like when you focus on something hard enough, you'll make it real. But the thing is, most people don't understand how to use their focus to manifest. For example, you wouldn't say, oh God, I don't want a ticket, I don't want a ticket, I don't want a ticket. Because what you're focusing on is getting a ticket. Or you could be saying that you want something, but deep inside you feel you're undeserving or unworthy. That, again, will keep that away from you. So what manifests in our 3D is just what we're focusing on. It's just a small portion. So the true, more whole self is going to be the mind-time plane. Okay? Now, there is planes above that, of course. Your mind-time plane is still only like a computer or a computer processor, per se. Now, what is in control of the mind-time plane? Well, that is the infinite emotional field. Now, your emotional field has a source, and that source is the 0-point energy field. It is the place of unconditional love. Now, we're not talking about, Snow White romance or, these fairy tale type loves. That is not real love anyway. Love in a relationship is usually conditional, and therefore it is usually fear. I will only be with you if. In other words, you don't really truly unconditionally love that person for who they are. You only love them when they fit inside of the parameters of your box that you're constructing for them. So you can see why most relationships in the world have lots of problems. And it's a learning process. Of course, even myself and my husband, we are still learning to allow each other unconditional love and freedom. Because we've been trained, programmed, if you will, to put everything in boxes. Now, it's good to organize things. It is very good to remain organized, but you must allow for nature to be freely organized. It's a natural inner organization, not an externally imposed organization. So, when we're talking about the 0-point energy field and unconditional love, what we are really speaking of is the place of infinite acceptance. In other words, I don't need to invalidate someone else's point of view in order to validate mine, because I can see the purpose, the divine purpose, in that person's point of view, and the process, the resultant process that will form because of that point of view. All points of view exist to create diversity so that we can unify the diversity and create a stronger matrix. Currently, we're experiencing life in a very pyramid-type matrix, where there is one at the top that is controlling all other views and keeping them in the dark, the separated pyramid. Of course, you can look on the back of the dollar bill. But the true nature of reality is holographic. And in a holographic reality, which is our true nature, which we are coming to a point where we can no longer deny, the holographic nature is that all parts contain the whole, which means that every single point of perception contains the whole, and they are seeing it in a certain lens, per se, and that lens has a purpose. And this is why, I know I'm not personally Christian. I did grow up Christian, but I subscribe to all religions and no religions, because I understand that the purpose of religions, they were basically like a stepping stone, and they were here to create a challenge of unification and a challenge of discernment. So we must unify all religions to get the key, and we must discern each religion with our own heart, our own center, so that we learn these two aspects of going to the heart and unifying. That's the most important key. I mean, if you were God and you were going to try to teach this message of unification and discernment, are you really going to create one book that has all the answers in it? That one book that has all the answers does not promote any form of unity with others. It may say to do it, but it doesn't create that action per se. And also doesn't create discernment of heart, because you're reading, it's there, you read it, it's there, bam, you're done. Whereas in this creation of consciousness that we created, that God as all created, we're in this point of conflict, but the conflict has purpose. It's a catalyzation process. So, all these conflicts in religion are there specifically to make us realize that in keeping the division, there will always be conflict. So therefore, we must unify. We must listen to all perspectives in order to gain wholeness in our insight. And with that wholeness, we can then discern the areas that were causing, disharmonic resistance, such that we can come together in diversity and still be harmonic.
So with that said, in regards to this dream state ET visitation thing, they are trying to play this off as, okay, well, because it happens in a dream, it's an illusion. It's in your mind. Well, it is in your mind, and you can call it an illusion or not, but if you call the dream state illusion, you have to also call the current state that we're in right here that we see around us an illusion as well, which is fine. That is actually called Maya in the more Eastern religions, because what you see around you is an illusion. Anything that is individuated is an illusion, because we are all unified together. And yet we still have certain signature frequencies that allow us to express in a diverse way. Very beautifully designed. So whatever this harp, we'll talk about the harp a little more. This harp high active auroral research program that DARPA, the defense agency that DARPA basically is, they're creating
this is the play out of the apocalypse. Everything down to the quantum level is picking sides.
Now, the only ones who will survive this polarization are the ones that can take the wider spectrum that we're now privy to, because polarization means picking the sides, positive and negative. So the only way that we can deal with this without exploding, basically, or feeling ripped apart, both consciously, physically, everything, is to learn how to harmonically weave all of these new energies into our vortex of perception. So how do we do that? Well, unconditional love is the key. First, you must accept all possibilities. You must accept that all possibilities can be. So it's not about, is this information or is this disinformation? Is this true or is this false? Again, that's the duality game. You're playing duality, not unity. Dualities of the mind. And it's the mind which has caused all of this turmoil, war in the world. Because remember, mind creates 3D. 4D creates 3D. So really, we are trying to master 4D. We're trying to master 3D, but we cannot master something from the same level where the problem was created. And that is an Einstein, quote. Not exact words, of course. So in order to master the mind, we must first master the heart, which is unified, unity. If you look at your chakras, the heart chakra is the center. If you look at the visible light spectrum, the color spectrum, the rainbow, green is the center. Green is what we see in nature. Green is able to take the light from the sun, chlorophyll,
and harmonize it into an energy that plants can use, that we can use. This is why eating green food is one of the best foods to eat for, to be able to harmonize all this higher energy coming in. So, and if you, let's bring this down to a psychological aspect. So we know the scientific, purpose, what we're trying to accomplish is to weave all of these, this wider range of energy from polarization into a digestible format. So the first thing to do psychologically is to accept that all things are possible. So we're making a puzzle. Consider everything as a puzzle. Look for synchronicities in your life. Look for the synchronicities, because that's where your answers are going to lie, in the synchronicities. Now, when you finally accept that everything is possible, and you start making your connections and synchronicities, once you realize everything is possible, you then also realize everything is connected. So anything that somebody else may call disinformation actually gives you information, because you're able to see through the disillusion or the disharmony that was causing that to be called disinfo. And usually the best disinformation contains a lot of truth. So basically what we're doing is we're looking at something that has kind of some dirt on it. And a lot of people, oh, this has dirt on it, throw it away. The truth of the matter is it just needs it needs some closer inspection. It needs a little cleaning. The same thing is true, when you look at a human, they may have been traumatized as a child, for example. And this trauma has put a certain lens, a certain filter on their lens, so that everything in their life is painted a certain way. And so it doesn't make that person disinformation. It doesn't make that person invalid. Not at all. What it does is it allows us to peer into the process of self, to see, okay, well, these events have caused this type of confusion within consciousness. And we can then learn from that. So it doesn't mean that person is disinformation, or it doesn't mean that their information is invalid. What it means is that that information shows us what is normally a secret process, and enables us to know ourselves better and understand the situation better. And again, the whole Christian aspect, the whole reason why I was mentioning that and about religion was because I do like to take quotes or examples from the Bible, because all religions do have everything that exists has examples of this, because it's all created from consciousness. So it's all holographic, all parts containing the whole. So the Bible and all of the books, all of the holy books, and anything you can think of, you can find these truths in. Now, what I was saying specifically about is that, let's see, where was I going with that? Talking about unconditional love, consciousness.
Oh, the Bible talks about the rainbow, the promise.
Is a certain frequency range of a color on the lens, if you will. So if you leave out any color of the color of the lens in the rainbow, if you leave out red, if you leave out blue or green, any one of those, you're not going to get the right white light of truth. So to say that another way, if I leave out any perspective out there, I'm missing a piece of the white light of truth. But before you can even get to that, you have to find your truth within. And that truth within is that all things are possible and you're unified with everything. So then when you think of another person's perspective, it's really not another. It is a reflection of you. It is something that your consciousness is trying to get you to see from another point of view. We're all equal creators in this, equal. It's not that you are controlling that other person
It is one consciousness that is experiencing itself in many different processes of awareness. So, for example, your twin flame, your soulmate. Your soulmate is going to be, in some ways, your polar opposite. Because the reason why you came here is to expand your awareness, to expand who you are and refine who you are. And that is only possible when our limits are stretched, when there's polarization. Polarization enables a firmer structure. You know, look at your hands. You know, it's when you do this with your hands, it creates a much firmer structure than, you know, even simple shaking of hands like this. It's just firmer. Polarized, two things, you know, they're in between, left and right, polarized together. This is the Masonic checkerboard, you know. It's a structure it's a foundational structure. When you have that, it keeps you in dynamic flow. And the goal is to stay balanced in that flow. It's to see from both points of view without having your center being swayed. And even if you look at the human body, if you notice, our hearts have moved to the left a bit. Our hearts are now to the left. And there's even sayings about, you know, the left and the right. You have, you know, the Baphomet with the hand up and the hand down. What that basically stands for is the unifying of all opposites. You know, that's what it stands for. Anything that has been called evil is usually it's a very important thing that has been taken and distorted. And it's actually divine truths that have been taken and distorted. And this is very difficult for people to get around, because there's so much programming to keep us away, stay away. You know, instead of the normal instincts is something you don't know about, something that is a little bit scary. The normal response before programming is to test it out, to go see, you know, go see what's going on. But with programming, we learn, oh gosh, don't touch that, don't even think about that, you know, oh my gosh, I can't go there in my mind. Well, what that does is that keeps you an infant. You know, I mean, let's look at, for example, going from an infant to a toddler. An infant does stay within certain parameters. They do listen to you within certain parameters. But you get to the toddler stage, and they want to push all the limits. They want to test it for themselves. You know, they want to get into it. And, you know, and that is, honestly, that is the way of nature, and that's the true way. So we need to really face these things that people are calling evil head on and find out what the purpose of them is. Now, I'm not saying it is the right thing to do to hurt anyone or cause any negativity. That is not at all what I'm saying. It's not beneficial to you or to anyone to engage in consumptive activity. But the consumptive activity is here and ready. So we now must do something with what we have created. Let me go ahead and pause
this. I gotta check on Harold. I think he's in the kitchen getting some food. I will go ahead and put this video in and do a continuation. Sorry it's taking so long. Love you guys. Yes?